GALP.
Hey guys, and welcome to Get a Life podcast. It's your boy Bish, and today I'm with Jacob.
Hello there.
Daddy.
Daddy.
Look, we're still working out with the soundboard, and we're just stealing a lot of sound quotes and stuff from like Trisha Paytas and stuff. Because it's funny, right? I'm a fan of Trisha. You're a fan of Trisha. I haven't really... Daddy? That was actually you. That wasn't Trisha that said that.
Yeah, that was me.
Daddy.
Was that also you?
Daddy.
Today, we are going to be talking about Dynasty Warriors 10. If you live in the UK, it's called Dynasty Warriors 10. Before we get into that, we are going to go into a little bit of disclaimer. For you new folks, GALP is a gaming podcast that's focusing on Japanese games like Dynasty Warriors if you live in the UK. We cover Muso, JRPGs, all of that good shit, okay? If you want to support the show, exactly, that good shit, that good shit.
Good.
If you do want to support the show, feel free to on our coffee page, ko-fi.com/Get-A-Life-Podcast. In addition to that, you can support our sponsors, Crunchyroll and Sugoima. You'll be hearing ads for them within the episode. Jacob.
Yes.
Dynasty Warriors 10.
Daddy.
Exactly. It's not announced to be a thing. We don't know officially if it is going to be a thing, but I have a feeling we're going to get a Dynasty Warriors 10 announcement this year at either TGS or like a Sony State of Play.
Oh, we better.
We better. Because I think we will. Because it's been such a long time since we've gotten a Dynasty Warriors release. Yes, we had Empires for Dynasty Warriors 9, which wasn't necessarily the best. It was better than 9, but it wasn't...
I'll have to play that.
I mean, you can play it. It might be on sale at the moment.
It's not.
Is it not? Okay, well, it's not on sale. Cody, you get it, better put that on sale. I got the code for that game about maybe 3 weeks early, and I spent so much time on it, and I actually quite enjoyed it. And I think the reason being is because it wasn't 9. Like, it still played like 9, but because I always felt that 9 was gonna be better as an Empires game anyway because of its open world and stuff. I was surprised that Koei even released 9 Empires because, you know, we thought for a while that Koei would just abandon 9 and they weren't gonna do anything about it, and then there was production delays, and we're thinking, okay, cool, they might not do anything more with it, but they hedged their bets and they went with it. They even released it on Switch, which shocked me the most. Koei does what Koei does, I guess.
I call that slay.
It's good for them that they're doing that and they're putting games on as many consoles as possible, especially in this day and age. It makes sense. Does it make sense to put the game on the Switch? No. And I think the reason being is because you have to have a similar gameplay style across all of the consoles, you kind of have to limit them down on the PS5 and the Xbox just so we can run properly on Switch, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can't give one exclusive features and the other one bare bones. So it's like the whole game had to suffer on other consoles so that it can run somewhat properly on Switch, and it's kind of like that with a lot of Koei games. But we're not here to talk about Dynasty Warriors and Empires. We're here to talk about Dynasty Warriors 10 because, like I said, I think it's going to happen. I think we're going to get it because at the end of the day, if you look at the way that Koei's been producing their games recently in terms of Omega Force, in the last 2 years, Omega Force has been concentrating, at least during the pandemic, they've been concentrating on titles that aren't their own. So stuff that are being published by other companies, whether it's Wild Hearts that is being published by EA, which is basically Tokiden, or a spiritual successor to Tokiden.
I miss Tokiden.
Dude,
honestly.
I love Tokiden. Such a good game. But I have a feeling that if Wild Hearts does well, we might see Tokiden 3. Because at the same time, it's like a lot of people were playing Tokiden on the PS Vita because there wasn't a Monster Hunter on Vita. So it was like, shit, we need to get this game. And I think that's what drove the initial hype. And then when Tokiden 2 came around, I think the Vita was dying at that point. So it was like a lot of people were playing on the PS4 and things like that. And it just didn't have the same feel. I remember back in the day, and I think you remember as well, you get Tokiden, and then Koei would do weekly lobbies and stuff. And this was Koei Tecmo Europe. It was Chin that was mainly doing that. He would set up lobbies and he would be like, guys, let's just enjoy the game together and do that kind of stuff. And I thought that was really cool. And I wish Koei would kind of do more stuff like that. But it kind of just depends because you couldn't really do that with Tokiden 2. Tokiden 2 came out to a point where it was just is the hype for Tokiden still there? Because by that point, you had Monster Hunter games coming out and it was what am I gonna do with this? I don't know, the fact that Monster Hunter existed past that point kind of split the fan base a little bit more, because majority of the people that were playing Tokiden were playing it because there wasn't a Monster Hunter game at the time. So if Wild Hearts does end up working, then I think we might see a new Tokiden, hands down.
I would love that.
I would love it as well, man. Like, I really do miss Tokiden.
I do honestly want to see the Tokiden 1 characters come back. I just miss them.
Fuckable Fugaku.
Yeah.
Yeah, very
Exactly.
fuckable. He's very, very
I
fuckable.
will never forget the fact that I fucking punched or kicked that boulder and created that small movement of very fuckable. I can't believe that's me.
I'm glad that you did it. I'm a bit confused. Does Koei still have that on their page? Like, it's not it's not deleted. I hope that it's still on the Koei Twitter page. That would be fucking. And please take a screenshot of it, because I have a feeling that when this episode comes out, Koei will delete that and it will be our
It's still
fault.
there.
Oh, okay, take a screenshot, Jacob, and send it to me. I need to print that out. I need to frame it.
I will literally send you the link.
Hell
You
yeah.
can do that yourself.
Very fuckable. Oh,
That's still my old account. Well, it's my old username, but like, Jesus, that.
so good.
I love the fact that the account is still up.
Oh my god, September 12th, 2022. It's real. Like, people are actually noticing it now. Let's see.
What do you mean September? This was in November 20th.
No, the responses. And then someone wrote, easy. 2010's Twitter was wild, lol. You started a movement, Jacob. Very fuckable. Like, people literally are retweeting it. Like, it's resurfaced. And people are retweeting it this year. It's insane.
Really?
Yeah. Very
Wait,
fuckable.
show me.
Dude, I will show you. Like, go to the quote tweets.
They're not showing up for me.
Are they not?
No, it says no quote tweets yet, even though there's 3 quote tweets.
Okay, I'll send you the link. That was done almost 10 years ago. Put the link to the tweet in the description.
Wait, this is
That's from this year.
is from this year?
That's what I'm saying. That's from this year, and they're one day apart, and people are like, oh my god, it's real. Like, as if this was a legend. Like, people did not believe this. So clearly it's resurfacing. Very fuckable is a thing.
This was such an era, honestly.
It was. I mean, like, that era of Koei 10 years ago, where it was like the Wild West, and you can post whatever you wanted, and
Yeah.
it was just fantastic. Very fuckable. I want to frame that shit. You know what? Anyone that's listening, we're gonna get this like etched on acrylic or etched on some wood. Okay, so the initial tweet said, currently working on hashtag Tokuden's website, launching early next week with pack shot, pre-orders and more. Hashtag KTFamily. This is how you know this is an old tweet, because it's a KTFamily. And a picture of Fugaku, and I can't remember her name.
It's not Oka. Oka
No,
is
it's
the
not
girl with
Oka.
the sword, I think.
The more important thing is Fugaku. This tweet doesn't have that many likes. Okay, just so you guys know, even to this day, 9 likes. Not that many.
Back then it was still favorites.
Was it?
Retweets and favorites, yeah.
Damn, okay.
You literally see on the screenshot.
Oh yeah, true, good point. But yeah, and then I'll let you say your bit.
At Tecmo Koei Europe, the dude is handsome. Hope he's a fuckable character.
And Koei's response, Koei's official response, very fuckable.
Fuck yes. That was my tweet, by the way. Fuck yes.
So
I
Koei
can't believe that.
Koei still has this, and bear in mind, this was Chin. I'm sorry, Chin,
Yes.
for throwing you under the bus. This was Chin that tweeted this, because at the time,
the bus.
well, you know what? I don't think Chin cares anymore. I think he finds it funny, but I'd imagine Chin would have got into a lot of trouble for this.
Didn't he?
I'm pretty sure he did, because it went viral on the internet. Like, people were like going crazy.
It was so funny though.
It's funny that it's still there. It's funny that it's still there. So what we're gonna do is just to immortalize it and to like keep it there forever. We're gonna take this tweet, we're gonna etch it on like acrylic or wood or something, and we're gonna make like little trophies immortalizing this tweet. So we'll probably make 4 of them, and then I'll give you one, I'll keep one, and then
I want to get it framed, yeah.
yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna make it out of wood or acrylic. That way you don't really need to frame it. And then I'll give you one, I'll give one to Chin, and I'll keep one, and then we'll give one away. How does that sound?
Hot.
It's the dumbest thing to do, but I have a feeling that Koei is
I
gonna
love
delete
it,
this
though.
tweet after listening to this episode, because Koei is gonna listen to this episode, right? So
Yeah.
they'll delete this tweet. And I'm surprised that they haven't, and I'm surprised that it's been going on for 10 years. And I hope that it goes on like, at least for 10 years, because obviously it's like 9 months until its 10-year anniversary. But it would be good if Koei kept it up for another year. But like it hasn't caused that many problems, so it's not. Don't worry, Koei. Don't worry. It's fine. Don't worry. I'm just surprised that Koei still tweeted something like that. And from what I remember when I spoke to Chin about it, he said, "Oh, I had the Koei Twitter page on my Twitter app, and I was supposed to respond with my personal Twitter," and he responded with the Koei Twitter page. And what I love is that this is what I love about Chin, is that he had the balls just to keep it up on, you know?
Yeah, or like that no one else like deleted it though.
Yeah.
That's what I think is so
you know
funny.
what? I think that people could not say shit to Chin at Koei. Papa Chin.
Yeah.
Papa Chin.
Daddy.
Daddy Chin.
Daddy.
He is a daddy, right? Like, that's how I see
He
him.
is so hot.
I know. Chin, if you're listening, which you're probably not, but if you are, we love
Then
you.
you're a heart smash for me.
Daddy.
Exactly.
But yeah, enough about Chin.
No.
Because we're supposed to talk about Dynasty Warriors.
Like, no, just
10.
let's keep talking about him.
This is like clickbait. We're not actually going to be
It
talking
has
about
been
Dynasty.
clickbait so far, honestly.
It has,
because
hasn't
we've
it?
talked about like we're like, oh, so like Dynasty Warriors 10. Anyways, Tokiden.
Anyways, Chin.
Exactly.
But, okay, what we are gonna do, we're gonna go on an ad break because it's been 17 minutes, and then when we come back, we are actually gonna talk about Dynasty Warriors 10. So before we get into the ads, just want to shout out our coffee page. If you guys want to support the podcast either monthly or through a one-time donation, we really do appreciate it because coffee doesn't take a fee. So all of the amount of money that you're going to be donating goes straight to us. So that's really awesome. We do have goals set up on there, like for podcast equipment, for artwork and things like that. So anything you donate is going to go straight back into making this podcast a better experience, a better show. We will be using it correctly. So I will assure you that. So that is ko-fi.com/GetAlivePodcast. Thank you. And back onto the ads. Now it's a better time than ever to be an anime fan with Crunchyroll that has the world's largest anime collection. You can watch new episodes 1 hour after they air in Japan, enjoy access to unlimited ad-free anime, read hundreds of chapters across dozens of manga titles, and save with exclusive Crunchyroll store discount. So if you guys go to crunchyroll.com/kunai, that's crunchyroll.com/kunai for your 14-day free trial of Crunchyroll Premium service. Remember, you guys, we love Crunchyroll. We use them on Kunai. I personally love them. I personally use them all the time. We've been going to Crunchyroll events for a long time sponsor of the podcast. And you know what? They are the best place to watch anime legally online with over 30,000 episodes. And at the moment, if you're listening to this, they've got the largest fall lineup in history for fall 2022 with over 40 simulcasting titles. That is insane. So join Crunchyroll with our link, crunchyroll.com/kunai for 14-day free trial. In addition to that, you've got different perks with your premium service. You can either go with your mega fan, you can go with fan service, or your mega fan for 12 months. Personally, the biggest savings that you're going to make is if you do your mega fan option. If you live in the UK, that's only £60 a year. That's VAT inclusive. That's cheaper than any streaming service at the moment, especially if you're into anime. You got all your anime pretty much in one place. That's no ads, unlimited access to the Crunchyroll library, new episodes 1 hour after they air in Japan for your simulcasts, access to your digital manga, streaming on 4 devices at the same time, as well as offline viewing. You would not believe how many times offline viewing has saved me. Beyond the tube, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no 5G. I'm like, I want to watch anime. Boom! I'm watching Overlord. I'm watching Dr. Stone. I'm watching Naruto. I'm watching DBZ. You've got it all on Crunchyroll. That's crunchyroll.com/kunai. That's crunchyroll.com/KUNAI. Back onto the episode.
Yes.
Okay, we are back. Jacob, how are you?
Yay. Did you like ask me to do that just so you can make a sound bit out of it?
No, that's not.
Not at all.
No. How would I know what you were going to respond? I didn't know that you were going to say that. I'm glad you did. But
Anyways,
that's going to be a soundbite. So, Dynasty Warriors 10, we know it's going to be a thing. And the reason I say this is because Koei is a very predictable company. I don't know any official statements, but I did read some Famitsu articles with a lot of members from Koei Tecmo. Suzuki-san, Koinuma-san, and they were talking about Omega Force and
Jacob
as well, official source that works for Koei. Exactly. So they were talking about Dynasty Warriors and how there is a possibility that there is something in the works. They didn't say anything like that specifically. I'm just paraphrasing. So what I'm assuming is that we are going to get Dynasty Warriors 10 announcement at TGS or at Sony State of Play around E3. But usually these games tend to get announced at TGS and then they're like, oh, Dynasty Warriors 10 is coming out in January of the next year in Japan usually. And then we get it in like February or like March and stuff like that. So
like I have a very like trustable source about Dynasty Warriors 10. Do you want to hear it?
Yes, I do.
Like intel on it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
You want to hear it?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay, so Dynasty Warriors 10, you know, like how always like Zhao Yun was like the poster boy? So now we actually have a poster girl. You know who she is?
What, Wang Yuanji?
No, it's Zenji.
Jacob. No one likes Zenji.
First of all, fuck you. Second of all, she's not only the poster girl, she's literally every single character in the game. You know how you have like her as a playable character like these past 1,000 Dynasty Warriors games? Now you have her not only as a playable character, but she replaces every single other model in the series, well, Dynasty Warriors 10. And not only that, but she is literally like, she's the texture for like every single thing in the game. So you fight Genji as Genji.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Weapon. She's like the pavement. She's the soil. She's the sky. She's the trees. She's like the bushes. She's every horse you ride. She's everything. It's literally Dynasty Warriors Genji. It's Genji Warriors.
Genji Warriors. You know, that would be a nightmare to play.
It would not be. It would be the most iconic thing, and I would buy
so wait, you're
10,000 copies of it.
No, look, if I'm pretty sure someone could do that with mods on the
someone
PC
did
version.
that with like Danganronpa and Komaeda.
Oh my god, okay, that's fucked up.
It's funny though.
But I can't imagine someone doing that with Dynasty Warriors 8 on PC, just modding the shit out of it. Although some of the mods are gross. But seriously, so Dynasty Warriors 10, an absolute legend of a game. We've been waiting for it for a long time because of the disappointment of Dynasty Warriors 9. And I want to know, Jacob, on a serious note, what do you want to see for Dynasty Warriors 10?
Maybe we should start with what I don't want to see.
Okay, what do you not want to see?
I do not want to see weapons removed just to be DLC again. Same with characters.
Okay, now give us an example of a character that's been removed to then go back as DLC.
What's her name? Xing Tsai.
What?
Wasn't she DLC or something?
For Dynasty Warriors 9? I thought her mum was DLC, but she was already in the game as an NPC.
Okay, well, Meng Huo it wasn't Dynasty Warriors 9, but it was Dynasty Warriors 6, where he was cut out of Dynasty Warriors 6, but then he was brought back for Strike Force, and was he brought back for Strike Force? I know he was
Strike Force
brought back. Strike
Empires.
Force 2.
We never got Strike Force 2 though.
No, but he was brought back in Strike Force 2.
He was.
But he was brought back for Empires.
He was indeed, yeah. And it was the same with Ma Chao and a few other characters.
Ma Chao, really?
Yeah, Ma Chao got removed from base Dynasty Warriors 6 and he was reintroduced in Empires, which is really weird.
I'm not sure that's true. I think he got a new weapon. Let me look this up.
My dad, Mr. Koinuma, told me that. Yeah, he doesn't lie.
Koinuma.
Yeah, Mr. Koinuma Papa. He told me that. 100%. It's true.
He was in Dynasty Warriors 6, wasn't he?
He was. It says in Dynasty Warriors 6 Special.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said.
That's not the main game, though.
He was in Dynasty Warriors 6, but in Dynasty Warriors 6 Special, he got the big sword. Yes.
No, he wasn't in base Dynasty Warriors 6. He was.
Yes, he was, but he had a
wasn't.
spear.
He was in Dynasty Warriors 6 Special.
Yeah, that's where he got a big sword and his own Muso mode. But he was a free character.
Was he?
He wasn't a story mode character.
You know what? I never played Dynasty Warriors 6. I refuse.
That is not true. That is not true.
No, dude, I've never played Dynasty Warriors 6. I refuse to play Dynasty Warriors 6.
You're bullshitting me.
No, I'm being serious. I do not own a copy of Dynasty Warriors 6, and I never wanted to play it.
This is Ma Chao in base Dynasty Warriors 6.
Okay, let's check. But did you not believe that? Did you not know about that?
What?
That I never played Dynasty Warriors 6.
No.
It's true. I don't own a copy of it.
I legit did not believe you.
No, I'm being serious because the reason why I didn't play it was because I didn't have PlayStation 3 when it came out and I was waiting for Special to come out. But Special was only released in America and in Japan for the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, I know.
But not in Europe for some odd reason.
I know.
So I never got to experience Dynasty Warriors 6. But I heard it was quite bad. I did look at gameplay videos.
Special was bad, yeah.
I mean, not just Special. Base Dynasty Warriors 6 was...
No, I actually enjoyed it.
Dude.
I mean, it definitely was not as... It didn't hold up to par compared to, like, early or later games. I did not enjoy it.
Okay, no, fair enough. I mean, there was a lot in 6 that I kind of seen in 9 in terms of like the Rembu attacks and stuff like that. Like that's kind of...
Oh yeah, that was annoying.
And, like a lot
that
of...
system was annoying as shit.
But why did they bring it back for 9? I don't get it. But that's besides the point.
Did they?
Well, they did, but they didn't call it the Rembu system. It was basically that. And it just felt like they were following the same trends, right? Expanding the world, which they did with 6, don't get me wrong. They introduced swimming, they introduced like all that kind of stuff in 6 was really cool. And I feel like they redeemed...
It was so hot. 6 was so fucking
I mean,
hard.
it looked like a good game, but there were certain things I couldn't overlook, like recloning of weapons, cut characters, things like that. And
You know, for 6 Empires, they got rid of the Renbu system and they added the 6 special weapons.
yeah, exactly. So it was a very positive thing. And I think for Empires, a lot of people, if you spoke to them, like I played 6 Empires and I really did love it. Like for me, an Empires game, if the main game was bad, the Empires can kind of save it. And I think that's kind of what it was for Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires. It saved the base game for me, at least. Like I look at Dynasty Warriors 9 a lot differently because of Empires, right? And I think for Dynasty Warriors 10, I disagree with you there when you're talking about you don't want cut characters.
I don't see why we have to cut characters. What they can do is they add like the same characters that we've had so far and maybe give us new DLC characters like they do for Dead or Alive 5 last... No, it wasn't last round, it was Ultimate. Yeah, that's what, like when they added Mary Rose as like a DLC character. I don't mind them adding new characters. Don't do it right away. Remember how, I don't know if you had like Left 4 Dead 2 when it came out. But I remember getting it pretty early on. So like this is how I like video games with DLC. Give us a video game, a finished one, and then after a period of time, like let's say half a year, and then start with the DLC. Because that's what a lot of games just don't do anymore. It's like they don't give us time to process that a game is out, and then we can play it. We can like do whatever the we want to do with it, and then give us new characters, give us new stages, give us new weapons, but don't throw everything at us right away. If you want to have launch DLC, give us like visual or aesthetic or like something DLC where it's like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think I ever spent money on like weapon skins because I never fucking cared about that. Like I never wanted to play with choke weapons, I'm gonna be honest with you, unless they were like actually powerful, then I played with those. But weapon skins are so fucking annoying to me. Like, why would I want to play with a hot dog? I get that some people find it campy or something, but I don't enjoy it. That's just me.
You know what? I disagree with you in terms of the way that the current DLC offering is. I would absolutely hate DLC characters in a Dynasty Warriors 10 and in Dynasty Warriors in general, because the way that the DLC has always kind of worked, and I think maybe it's kind of phasing out a little bit now. I understand where you're coming from in terms of supporting a game for a long time, like Left 4 Dead and things like that. But the thing is with Dynasty Warriors games, and even Samurai Warriors, even Orochi and stuff like that, is that they don't have a long shelf life because they'll release an Extreme Legends or an expansion as a separate game, right?
Yeah.
So I think now that's going to change because we've seen it change with Orochi 4, because they did Orochi 4 and 4 Ultimate, but if you bought 4 Ultimate expansion, it basically combined the games together, and I think that's where we're moving. So I wouldn't disagree with you in terms of having DLC characters, but actually having it as a DLC pack. Like, something annoys me about selling them separately. If you just had it as, this is an Extreme Legends pack, selling them separately just feels weird. Like, having it as an Extreme Legends pack and be like, hey, this is a separate expansion for the game. I will say if Koei does that, then they must decrease the prices a bit, because I don't think in this day and age people are going to pay another €50 for an expansion game, right?
Yeah, that's also something I wouldn't do, honestly.
Yeah, if they're going to do that, then they might as well do it as a season pass. Like, I wouldn't mind paying another $50 or €50 for a season pass if we actually got decent content throughout the season. Like, for example, Samurai Warriors 5 had a season pass. The season pass was like 2 months of content. It wasn't enough.
Strangely enough, I am fine with season passes. I don't know why, but like for some reason I'm like fine with season passes, but I don't care for like individual DLC
Exactly.
packs, because I would like, if I take DLC, I want to get all of it.
And that's how I feel as well. And the odd thing is, if you're gonna buy each DLC separately, it would have just been cheaper to get it in the season pass. Like,
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
yeah, that's what I end up doing anyway, to be fair with you. So I do prefer season passes. Koei needs to work on how they deal with Dynasty Warriors DLC to begin with. They need to work from the ground up, because DLC for 9 in terms of season passes wasn't that good. Even 8 and 7 had it the worst.
I mean, let's just be honest. 9 wasn't good in general, so
True, 9 wasn't that good, but if you look at the DLC for 7, it was a lot of content. I'm not gonna lie to you, there was a lot of content. All of that like fantasy and like cosplay DLC, I love that. That was
I
really
did enjoy
cute.
the costumes. I didn't care about the weapons again. It's
True,
like,
the weapons weren't
I
really
just-
cool, but
I don't give a fuck about choke weapons. I'm sorry. I just don't. I don't see the appeal.
like I said, I don't think anyone does, but at the same time, it's like they kind of match the costumes in a lot of cases, so they kind of like had to put it in there, I guess. It's clearly Omega Force having fun with it, and I appreciate to see that. But what annoyed me was that they sold the same DLC again for 8 because they use very
Yeah, that
similar
was
models.
annoying, yeah.
I was like, dude, I already own this DLC. Why am I going to pay
Exactly.
again for the school uniforms? Like, I don't want to do that. Like, if they had new DLC for 8, fine. I don't mind paying for it. They could have included that as unlockable costumes, stuff like that, for like the old DLC. I would have really loved that if they did that, and then offer us new DLC. That's what I think Koei should do for Dynasty Warriors 10, at least in terms of the way DLC and costumes should work, because I'm presuming they're going to use very similar engine, if not a new engine, but I think they're probably going to use a Dynasty Warriors 8 engine.
I don't want like any old engines. I want something that's like completely fresh.
Okay.
I want something that's like, we want to show that this is Dynasty Warriors 10. Like, this is a whole fucking new, I guess call it a new generation of Dynasty Warriors, where it's like, okay, it has great gameplay, it has great graphics, it has like no annoying outfit glitching or like, you know, or like clipping. Because something I've noticed, like over the last few like Muso games, for some reason the costumes always have the worst like clipping with like the weapons. Why do you like design something that it's like it clips with each other, or like the hair or something? If your character has a spear and a costume and the hair, do it so like everything properly works out. Don't make it just like, oh yeah, this person has the spear. And also, I'm gonna be honest with you, I really don't care anymore for like the second weapon system. I want a primary
Yes,
weapon.
oh my god, thank you for saying that.
I really do not see why, or like if you're gonna do it like so that we like the first weapon is not changeable, because that's like, if I see a character, I automatically assign a certain weapon to them. Like Genji still is like the flute woman.
The
It's
flute
like that
woman.
sounded pretty stupid, but like the flute playing warrior, or like, you know, Xiahou Yuan, like being the either like sword or bow and arrow, or Huang Zhang being bow and arrow. You know what I mean? It's like, assign them a weapon and then give them that. I think that's what was it, Dynasty Warriors 7 or 8, where everybody had a unique moveset. Which one was it?
I think it was 7 introduced the unique moveset with their EX weapon.
Yeah, exactly. And like literally they all had like their own moveset, and that's what I enjoyed so much, because it's like, I understand that like the more freedom you have, the more fun you have, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about that. I'm sorry. Like, that's where I'm like, maybe this is a controversial opinion, but I am so tired of like having the choice about everything. I do like a certain level of like linearity. Is that the noun?
Yeah.
I kind of like that, because I do love having like that type of like, okay, well, this person cannot equip this kind of weapon or stuff like that. And if you're gonna add a second weapon, don't give me that whole affinity bullshit.
Oh my
Where,
god,
you know, you remember the 1, 2, 3 star system? That was so fucking annoying.
It's very interesting that you mentioned that as well, because I agree with you 100%. Weapon switching was a nice gimmick in 7 that we had. I quite enjoyed that in 7, don't get me wrong. And I think the reason being is because 7 didn't have that many characters, so it was kind of cool to use all these different weapons and DLC weapons that came out and all that kind of stuff, right? But then by the point of Dynasty Warriors 8 and 8 Extreme Legends and 8 Definitive Edition and even 9, because 9 also had a weapon switching system as well, but it kind of felt shit. Like, if you look at a game like Samurai Warriors 5, for example, that also had a weapon switching system. Yeah, so with Samurai Warriors 5 is that you'd select your weapon before the battle. You only had one weapon, but you could choose any weapon in the game. Each weapon had its own like affinity rank to you. But at the same time, I don't like characters having multiple weapons, and I'd rather prefer character switching. The reason being is because with weapon switching, I found myself, at least with Dynasty Warriors in 8, not so much in 7, but at least in 8, weapon switching basically meant that I just stuck with the same character the whole game. I never changed my character. But back in the day, you'd want to play as Zenji, or you'd want to play as Pang Tong or Zhuge Liang, or any of these characters, because they have very unique moveset. Now,
Exactly.
do I think Koei is going to do this? No. I don't think Koei is going to declone all the weapons again.
I wish.
I think what's going to end up happening, this is my prediction here, I think they're actually going to set the game out similarly to Samurai Warriors 5. And this is my logic. They're going to cut down the roster, like probably give it the same amount of playable characters as Dynasty Warriors 7, right? Because 8 added just a shit ton and so did 9. I think they're going to cut it down to like maybe 10 per faction, or at least give it the same amount of playable characters as 7 or as 5, and then have it run in the Samurai Warriors engine, have it so that you can character swap as opposed to weapon swap, and then they'll do that because it's just easier for Koei to do that, right? And they kind of got a lot of good feedback from Samurai Warriors 5. I really did enjoy it. One thing I didn't like about Samurai Warriors was there wasn't an initiative, or there wasn't really a motive for me to finish the game past Nobunaga's story, right? I didn't want to play as Mitsuhide because it would be the exact same story with Mitsuhide, right? So it's the same sort of issues that I have with Dynasty Warriors 8, where it's like, oh, I can play as any character, but I'm not going to because I could just weapon switch, right? So that's what I think is probably going to end up happening, that we're going to get a condensed game, which isn't a bad thing. Like, I would like to see Koei cut off a lot of the fat in terms of the characters, because in more recent games, we got characters that I genuinely do not care about. Like, I don't care about Hangdang, I don't care about Chengpu, I don't care about Lu Su. I genuinely do not care about these characters, and not because they're from Wu, but just in general. Like, Wo Jia was literally in like 2 battles and he died. Like, he could have stayed as an NPC, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to see characters, if they are going to add new characters, I want to see a lot of these characters that have like 1 or 2 missions cut out of the game completely, because I don't think we need them at this point, and to reintroduce characters that we can actually get a lot of content out of, right? Characters that have been there from the beginning, from the Yellow Turbans until the fall of Shu.
Give us new one, Fushi.
Who's that?
Girl.
Oh no, they're not Dynasty Warriors characters though. They're Orochi characters.
Bestie, they were in Dynasty Warriors 3.
As playable?
Yes.
What?
Nu and Fushi, they were both Dynasty Warriors 3 characters.
I didn't know that. But they were removed when it came to Dynasty Warriors 4. They weren't reintroduced.
Yeah, they were removed, but they were playable in Dynasty Warriors 3.
It's in the same vein of Zuochi. Like, he was in Dynasty Warriors 5. And then
Yeah,
he got
oh my god, I
removed.
miss him.
He's back. I mean, he's in Dynasty Warriors 8.
I feel like Dynasty Warriors 5 was like his like peak moment.
Well, yeah, because he was like introduced as like the narrator for the story effectively, because he was there as a plot.
He was also
device.
fucking powerful. He was
dude,
he was
him
so
and his
OP in
cards,
that game.
The cards that he used and the cards turned into bombs and shit. That was mad. That was crazy.
Like the 4th charge attack was just insane.
Wait, the one where he turns it into like a little shield and then there's like an explosion?
Well, it's not like an explosion. It's more like those rays of like whatever it is. Like he does the thing where like all around him, and then he has those like rays coming out of the card, and like they go in all directions.
Yes, I know which one you're talking about. It's the same thing that's in Zhuge Liang and Sumai's Muso from those games.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And that's the thing. Like, I want to see more stuff like that. I want to see wacky characters, but characters that were there from the beginning. Like, for example, Liao Hua. Liao Hua was there from the Yellow Turbans all the way until the fall of Shu, right? I think there's a lot of stuff that they could do more plot-wise. And the problem with having so many characters is that characters back in the day, and I know that there's a lot of people that they'll say, oh, I love a character like Zhuge Liang, or I love Zhao Yun. And that's because those characters had a lot of character development, because there was less characters, so you were able to spend more time with them. Even with Zenji, like it's the same like that. And I didn't feel that moving from Dynasty Warriors 2 to Dynasty Warriors 3 to 4 to 5 that we lost any sort of character development. And they were adding new characters, but we didn't lose that character development. I just felt that we got a lot more of it, if that makes sense. Like, especially with 5, the way they structured that story, every character got 5 missions. A lot of the time they were not unique stories to them. There was other characters that would share the same battles and stuff, which is fine, but you got to hear their side story. You got to hear like them talk about, how do I feel before a battle? And I remember it specifically with Xing Sai, right? She would say, and back then she had a Valley Girl accent, but she would like talk about, oh, this is my first battle and I don't know how to deal with it. And like, you actually got that backstory, and it was just her narrating some text before the battle started. That was really significant, and I wish we could get that back for Dynasty Warriors 10.
Honestly, I miss like the whole like structure from like Dynasty Warriors 5 and Samurai Warriors 2. Like the story structure. I miss that so much because it gave every single character their own spotlight, their own story. As you mentioned, it's like gives them the character that they are. And like you have like, not to say that it's like bad that like Dynasty Warriors 7 and like most other Dynasty or Samurai Warriors games are like a little bit more historically accurate, you know? Not to say that that's wrong, but I feel like so many characters, so many beloved characters are just left behind because they haven't had such an impact on like the stories that they appear in. Like Senji, she barely got any spotlight and she's my favorite character. She's my favorite character and I was so sad that like, yes, she's playable, but what else is there? Like she has what, 5 voice lines in the game? Like, of course, that's like a bit over exaggerated, but you know what I'm getting at? It's like so annoying, and the only way for me to like really see a lot of her is if I play the conquest mode where like, yeah, I like, you know, she's like the protagonist because I said she is. It's kind of annoying. Like it's literally, it's like why give us so many characters if there's like no personality to them, you know?
Exactly.
I miss Samurai Warriors 2 and Dynasty Warriors 5, and it gave the characters the souls that they had. That's what I miss a lot.
I mean, oddly enough, I feel like we still had that in Dynasty Warriors until 8. 7 had that. Like, I don't know if you remember 7, but I know a lot of people will say Dynasty Warriors 8 is their favorite game. I disagree because I don't like Dynasty Warriors 8. Like, I prefer 7.
It's just an enhanced version of 7. I'm sorry.
Exactly. I agree with you.
I still say it like that because it is.
Yeah, it's 7.5. That's all it is. And it's a bit annoying because it's like everyone's like, I love 8. 8 is the best game. And I'm like, dude, it's just an improved version of 7.
Here's the thing. It was great. Don't get me wrong. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I loved, especially like the whole like, you know, castle building thing, or like whatever it was called. Like the thing where you had like, you could like build your own whatever it is. That was fucking amazing and I loved it. Like I loved every single minute of it, but I never saw it as Dynasty Warriors 8. I saw it as Dynasty Warriors 7 or like an enhanced version.
And that's what it is. And I think I love 7 because obviously a lot of shit had happened with 6 and there was a disappointment, and 7 felt like the game that was going back to basics, and it was like that. Like even they introduced the Gene Kingdom and they did a lot of things that worked,
favorite.
right? And it's great, and that's what I'm hoping Dynasty Warriors 10 to be. I'm hoping Dynasty Warriors 10 to be a return to form. I don't want to see all of these characters that we don't need. Like I said, I'm gonna say it again. We don't need all these characters. I think the way that they could do it is that return to story missions based off that character, even if it is only 5 missions per character, right? Because don't get me wrong, there was a shit ton of missions in Dynasty Warriors 8, right? There was a lot of it. Across all of the different factions, there was a shit ton. And I feel that you could remove all of that and give every character, even in Dynasty Warriors 8 with the amount of characters that there is, you can give each character 2 or 3 missions, maybe 5 missions if they're more like relevant, and actually give them story, like actual story behind it. Yes, of course, there are some characters that have been there for a longer time, and there are characters that have died on very early. Like, for example, Xun Jian won't have as much story because he dies relatively early in the grand scheme of things, right? But someone like Zhao Yun will be there from the very beginning until the very end.
Yeah, literally, he was there all the time, and sometimes I was like, okay, calm down, boy.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, he was there, but that's another thing. He was there, but what I would like to see is him aging.
Yeah, like in Sanada then.
Exactly. That's another thing. Like, what I liked about Spirit of Sanada was the fact that Spirit of Sanada was a game that focused only on Yukimura and his brother, right?
Yeah.
That was it. If we could get a Dynasty Warriors like that, I wouldn't mind it, but Koei would have to release it under a different subtitle. They wouldn't be able to call that, you know, Dynasty Warriors 10. That would probably have to be like...
Call it Dynasty Warriors, like Dynasty Warriors Gaiden or something.
Yeah, something, because it's like it's a side story. Now, what would you think of them giving us the base game, but then throughout the season, and I'm not talking about like a 2-month season, but like a year or 2 years, like a season pass that spanned over 2 years, where they were like, hey, here is additional story content specifically for Zhao Yun, or here's specific story content for Zenji. I would like that. Like, at least every month we'd get like 2 or 3 missions dedicated to a particular character that we might not have seen or experienced within the main game. I think that would be a great way of keeping all of those weird and wonderful characters in there while making them relevant.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think I would buy the game right away when it came out. If I wanted to do that, I'd be playing fucking Life is Strange.
Okay.
That's why so far I'm not someone who waits for like episodic games to like throw out like episode after episode. I don't do that shit. I'm sorry, like that's not what I do. I play video games hoping that from the get-go I have the full game playable. Who knows if they're like not gonna be like, okay, well this character is gonna get like 3 new missions. First of all, Xiao Yun is, as you mentioned, in every like he's there from the get-go. He's there until the end. He doesn't need more. He's literally there the entire time. We don't get this. We don't get to say the same thing about, I don't know, Zheng Zhao, Dong Zhuo. Like, of course, like you can talk about whether they're like really relevant. You know, for me, it's like if you're gonna treat the characters equally to me, at least that's what I think. And I'm not one for like, oh, like we're gonna give this character 3 new missions because it's like now I'm gonna have to pay for this character to get like a story mode when it literally could have been part of it from the get-go. Why would you not just take the time and finish the game and give us everything in one go?
Okay.
Because if you're gonna do that, I'm just gonna sit there, wait until every single content is out, give it, I don't know, a year or for how long the season pass is gonna go, wait until that stuff is all out and just wait for them to repackage it for the new gen consoles and say, oh, this is like the definitive edition as they did it for like 8 and 8 XL. I would literally not buy the game in the first time it came out, or like day one. And with Dynasty Warriors, which is like one of my favorite series of all time, I would want to buy it like from the get-go. That's what I did with like so many Street Fighter games. I was literally like, yeah, I'm not gonna get this right away because I know that literally right now I'm paying like 60 euros for a game that has minimal content or minimum content, and they're gonna expect me to keep paying for the DLC that I could have gotten if they had just given the game and the audience more time. If people enjoy that, that's their thing, but it's definitely not what I think games should be like.
Okay.
Especially if nowadays, a lot of new gen games cost a shit ton of money. Like, I see, like, fucking Elden Ring being like 80 euros. Hello? Like, imagine Dynasty Warriors costing that much and then giving us, like, a super small amount of content. Why would I want to get that?
So that brings me on to my next question. You kind of took it out of my mouth. Now, with Elden Ring, there's a lot of content within that game, right? And there's a lot of like content after you've completed the game. There's always going to be a lot more content within the base game, right? Similar to a game like Legend of Zelda and that kind of stuff, right? There's always stuff to do post game. So if we did get a Dynasty Warriors, let's say Dynasty Warriors 10 has all of these weird and wonderful characters. Let's say Dynasty Warriors 10 has 100 characters playable, and then each one of them had like 2 or 3, maybe 5 story missions similar to Dynasty Warriors 5, right? That sort of old school style, as well as other pieces of content. Do you think that's worth 80 euros?
Yeah, I would definitely buy that game because it's like 5 missions is fine for me, honestly.
Because that's another thing, because that's not sustainable, right? Because you'll get people that will complain, oh, you know, I don't want to pay that much for a game on the get-go, especially with the Dynasty Warriors games.
Well, yeah, but at least I have a complete game.
True, but that's what I'm saying. It's at the same time, it's like, are we gonna see? And bear in mind, we're talking about Koei here. Does Koei have the resources to produce a game like this? Yes, but at the same time, Koei often rushes these games.
That's my point exactly, because I feel like if they really wanted to, unless, as you mentioned before, unless Dynasty Warriors 9 was literally one of those cases where it's like, oh, we're gonna make 9 so awful that 10 is gonna be the best fucking game in the whole series, where it's like they either were like, let's do that, or they were just like completely rushing 9, which could have also been the case. I mean, let's be honest, 9 was a fucking mess. But like, if they had given 9 a lot more time, I'm literally saying, like, it's been like years since 9 came out, but it's like if they had given it way more time, it could have run so much better. It could have performed so much better. The gameplay would be fun. It could have been a bomb-ass game. Especially with open world. You got Dynasty Warriors, you got all of China ready there for you to explore. You have everything ready, and then you're just gonna say, okay, I'm dropping the game now because everybody wants it. Like, they approach it wrong, you know? Like, they could have approached it so much more, like, fittingly, where it's like, okay, look at the time space between Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors. They know that they cannot fuck up Samurai Warriors, because even though, like, let's take 3 was on the Wii, and it was like a bit different, but it wasn't like hugely different, but it made such an impact back then, at least in my opinion. Like, but they had this huge time span between all these different games. I remember, like, what was it, like Samurai Warriors 4 was like announced like way before it actually came out. Like, it was definitely like 1 or 2, maybe even 3 years, and I was like, that is insane. Like, it was announced, but it wasn't released until way later on, right? So I was like, okay, that's huge. But like, you have Dynasty Warriors being announced like, I don't know, 7 months in advance or something, and they give us like something, or like maybe like the first time they show us something, it's like 1 year before that, but they barely give us anything. And then they like start showing us everything like slowly, but you can just see that it's not good. Like, they show us like all the trailers for Dynasty Warriors 9 have shown us. The DLC stuff, it's all bad. It's so bad. And with Samurai Warriors, it was just like, oh yeah, here's the thing, by the way, the game is coming, but nothing else. And that's why they were like, okay, we can work on this in peace, because they know that it's coming out. They have the anticipation for this game. We can literally let them guess what it's gonna be like, and like the new characters and shit.
That's the thing that I kind of disagree with you, because I remember when I was getting press releases for it, we got very limited information. We were just told that the game is coming. We only saw one screenshot. There wasn't many trailers for Dynasty Warriors 9. Not defending Koei with Dynasty Warriors 9 here, but looking at Dynasty Warriors 8, right? Dynasty Warriors 8 was released in 2013, so almost 10 years ago.
That's wild.
Dynasty Warriors 9 was released in 2018. Yeah. I think something like that. So, and it had near a worldwide release, which is something very unusual for Koei to do. Like, literally, the game came out in, not even Empires had that. Empires, the Japanese version came out in December, and the worldwide version came out in Feb. So yeah. For Koei with Dynasty Warriors 9, I understand that they were very focused in terms of making the best game that they could. They were rushed, and I'm not even speculating. I know they were rushed, because you could say that, oh, they had, a good 5 years to develop this game from Dynasty Warriors 8, but they were building a new engine, which that takes time within itself. They were supporting so many different games around that time, during that time period, right? Because you imagine, they were developing games for Nintendo. They were working on Three Houses, Fire Emblem game. So Omega Force were doing so many different things at the same time, and they were like, shit, we have an anniversary for Dynasty Warriors. We need a new game. I have a feeling that if there wasn't all of this stuff, like all these Muso spin-offs and other games like that, we could have gotten a decent Dynasty Warriors 9. And the reason I say this is because if you actually play Warriors All-Stars, because that was when we kind of got the first sort of remnants. Yeah. If you play as a character like Zhao Kang and you play his moveset, that was the moveset he was supposed to get in Dynasty Warriors 9. That wasn't what he got in the end, but that was what he was supposed to get. So playing that game was supposed to be like an indication, maybe like a demo of sorts, to have a feel of what Dynasty Warriors 9 would be. And playing Zhao Kang in that game made me hyped for the title. And then we didn't see anything in terms of the development. Samurai Warriors, we got a shit ton of support in terms of press. We got every month there was like a update video from Nintendo, and I think also from Koei, saying, hey, this is the new features in Samurai Warriors 5. So there was a lot. Look, I'm just gonna say this, Koei had learned a lot from Dynasty Warriors 9 when they're doing stuff like Samurai Warriors and stuff like that, because they learned from their mistakes. They were very, very like closed off with Dynasty Warriors 9 because they knew they wanted to make this game good. They didn't have enough time, and I think I can't blame the people at Koei for making that game, because it was either that or it was going to get scrapped. And you've already put a lot of money into this. There would have been deals with Famitsu. There would have been deals with all of these other companies in Japan, HMV, Family Mart, that kind of stuff, right? All these different collaborations. You know, even fucking Pepsi at one point had a collaboration with Dynasty Warriors. So there was a lot of money that was just being put into this game from sponsors and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think it got its justice because there wasn't enough time to develop it, because they were working with Nintendo at the time. They were working with this company and that company, doing more collaborating games. You know, they were working with Bandai here. They were working with other projects here and there and everywhere. It was a difficult time for Koei. So the fact that Dynasty Warriors 9 wasn't the best game, and I know I was quite harsh on it. The fact that it wasn't the best game, yeah, I can see why. Are we going to see this with Dynasty Dynasty Warriors 10, I'm gonna say this from now, and I know I shouldn't because I know I did this with Dynasty Warriors 9, that I hyped it up and it wasn't that good, but I'm optimistic that Dynasty Warriors 10 is gonna be a good game. That Koei is gonna go back to basics. Even if they have all these different characters, they're gonna remove open world because they removed open world with Empires.
Yeah, they got rid of it for Empires. So I don't.
Exactly.
I think in general they saw that it just doesn't work.
It doesn't. And I think for it to work, what they needed to have done was actually make sure that the battlefields were properly structured, because it was like you spent most of your time on a horse getting to where the next place you need to be, and the battles weren't traditional battles. Like if they had walled off the battlefield, because I remember I was playing Battle of Chengdu and I had reached the battlefield from the back and I was like, oh, I don't need to open a door. I can use the hook.
Exactly.
I used a hook and I jumped into the enemy's camp. I didn't mean to do that. It just happened. And it really...
Oh god, you know what really bothered me about 9?
What?
The whole, oh, your character is under level to like fight this character.
Yeah, like what is that
was
about?
so annoying. It was so fucking annoying.
For me, I think 9 was very ambitious and it felt more like an RPG.
Yeah, and that's what I hate about it.
Yeah, and it was like trying to be Assassin's Creed when it's not. It was weird. Like, it was genuinely a weird game. And that doesn't work with Musou-style games, right? That's why for Koei to be that ambitious, they had to reclone moves, they had to cheap out on voices, and that's another thing. There is certain things that I'd like to see in Dynasty Warriors 10, like Chinese voices. They were fantastic in 9. I think that was the saving grace of Dynasty Warriors 9.
I honestly didn't listen to anything but the Japanese voices, I'm gonna be honest with you. Just because for Dynasty Warriors, I kind of couldn't get into a bunch of the Chinese voices. I remember that. I was like, yeah, this is definitely a deal breaker for me. And I'm not saying like, oh, it's like bad, but like to me, it just didn't work with like a lot of the Chinese voices. And for English voices, it was the fact that I was so used to like a bunch of, you know, those standard voices like Lu Bu or like Cao Cao. And I remember there was like this whole huge strike thing. So I was just like, yeah, I can't do like Chinese or English voices. So let me go back to Japanese, which is by now it's like I feel like it's like, let me call it the golden standard for like Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warriors, where it's like they always or almost always have the same voice actors and they always do well.
And it's the same with obviously the English voices. I mean, Dynasty Warriors 10 is going to have English voices. I'm going to say this from now. The reason being is because they don't do it for Samurai Warriors, but they'll do it for Dynasty Warriors because people love playing the mainline games. And I think Dynasty Warriors is way more popular than Samurai Warriors. It's a game that kind of put Koei on the map. So they still have to do English voices. I have a feeling that because Koei, like I said, and this is what I love about Koei listens to their audience. They know they've messed up with 9 and they've admitted that. And I feel that they're going to bring back the old voices. They have to. Because some of these voices were voices from Dynasty Warriors 4, Dynasty Warriors 2 even. And they've stayed there since the series started. So I think that they're going to bring the old voice cast back.
I know them, like a lot of them being like Dynasty Warriors 5 at least, because I literally didn't have like Dynasty Warriors 2. I think 2 to 4 had German dubbed.
Oh, okay.
So like I honestly didn't know about like the English dub until 5, which is funny because I literally played 2 the first time and then I didn't know about 3 and 4, and then I just played 5 and I remember, oh, this is in English. And then I went back to playing 4 and then it was German and it was like, what the fuck happened here? Why is this game in German and 5 is not? And I guess they just stopped giving like anything after 5 like German support, or at least German dub support.
Around that time in the early PS2 era, especially in Europe, like games, if they weren't having multiple language dubs, whether that's German, French, Spanish, English, it just wouldn't sell well. And especially when you're trying to establish, because bear in mind, the difference in release dates from 2 to 3 or even 3 to 4, there wasn't that many years. So it's kind of like you're almost launching a new series within the span of 4 years. And it's like, if you can't really get that European market, it's pretty much dead in the water. A lot of games did have that. Or what they would do is that they'd remove the dub altogether and just stick with subtitles, which you couldn't necessarily do for Dynasty Warriors because of all the audio. And I think personally for me, the reason why Dynasty Warriors, at least the reason I think why Dynasty Warriors 9 had Chinese dub, was because this was the first official release of Dynasty Warriors in China, in mainland China. So they had to go all out for that game for the Chinese market, and it sold really well. Koei didn't really, I don't think Koei made a loss for Dynasty Warriors 9 in China.
Yeah, in China.
Because, well, no, I mean, even worldwide, the sales from China alone, Koei has made so much money off that. They don't necessarily need to worry about Japan or the West, right? So China alone kind of just covered that for them, if that makes sense. It's a good idea to kind of sell this game in China because, well, you know, it's Chinese history or based off Chinese history and novels and things like that. And I think a lot of people in China would love to buy that game. And I think the Chinese government would love to kind of promote a game like that. And even then, if you look at the Chinese voices, I didn't know this. A lot of them are like famous actors in China and like, you know, like.
Yeah, I do think I remember hearing that as well.
So obviously Koei spent a lot of money on that. I would like to see that in Dynasty Warriors 10. Like, I'd love to see Chinese voices. I'd love to see Japanese. Obviously, we are going to definitely see Japanese voices.
Obviously. I mean, it's a Japanese game.
Yeah, exactly. And a part of me thinks that if there is no English voices, I wouldn't be upset. But at the same time, there has to be English voices. Like, it's a mainline title. There is going to need to be voices for them.
Well, here's the thing. I think for Dynasty Warriors, I think the thing is just like, so if you look at Samurai Warriors, I don't think that many people know about Samurai Warriors if you're not a Koei fan. But if you're or Koei Tecmo, but even if you're not a Koei Tecmo fan, I know so many people who know about Dynasty Warriors, where I'm like, that genuinely, it surprised me a lot of the time when people were like, oh yeah, I know about Dynasty Warriors, but I didn't know there was Samurai Warriors. Like, that is like, I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it, you know? So I guess it makes sense in a way for Samurai Warriors not to necessarily get an English or like any Western dub. Well, for Dynasty Warriors, it's a whole different thing because sometimes, I don't want to say it's a household name with video games, but it's way more well known.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I will go and say it is a household name. This is the game that put Koei Tecmo, at least Koei back then, on the map.
Yeah.
Like, if I say to someone, oh, I play Koei Tecmo games, they're like, oh, you play Dynasty Warriors?
Dynasty Warriors, yeah, exactly.
That's the first thing that comes to a lot of people's heads. Like, that game, especially in the PS2 era, up until 5, people, like, even if people didn't play other games and you told them you play Dynasty Warriors, like, they'll be like, yeah, I played this game as well. Like, a lot of people back in the day were playing, like, at least at school, like, a lot of kids were playing Dynasty Warriors 4, like, a lot of them. And I was like, shit, I wouldn't have expected that back then, but obviously it is, it's very interesting that it is something that is there, you know?
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you mentioned the whole Samurai Warriors thing, and because at the same time, when I was young, I always thought Samurai Warriors was like a fake game, like a fake spin-off of Dynasty Warriors.
Oh my god. That was me with Kingdom Hearts 2.
Like, I didn't know.
I saw Kingdom Hearts 2 in stores and it was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I didn't believe that it was real.
Yeah, like, you can't believe it. And, like, I didn't even know Koei made that game. Even though it had the Koei logo, I was like, what? Ugh, this is weird. No, I don't want to play this. And then, even now, I've never played Samurai Warriors as a kid. And then I went back to play Samurai Warriors, a game that I never had any emotional attachment to.
Yeah.
I still feel grossed out by it. I know it sounds really dumb, but it's like...
It's so weird.
It's like, dude, why do I want to play this game? It's really odd. But that being said, we're going to go on another ad break, and then we're going to end this on certain features that we would like to see, what kind of modes we would like to see.
Or speculation.
Or speculations for Dynasty Warriors 10. So,
Zaddy.
Before we get into the ads, just want to shout out our coffee page. If you guys want to support the podcast either monthly or through a one-time donation, we really do appreciate it because coffee doesn't take a fee. So all of the amount of money that you're going to be donating goes straight to us. So that's really awesome. We do have goals set up on there, like for podcast equipment, for artwork and things like that. So anything you donate is going to go straight back into making this podcast a better experience, a better show. We will be using it correctly. So I will assure you that. So that is ko-fi.com/GetAlivePodcast. Thank you. And back onto the ads. Are you a fan of anime and Japanese pop culture? I know I am. So why don't you get your asses down to Sugoi Mart? All right, that's sugoimart.com. Alternatively, you can use our link, getalifepodcast.com/Sugoi. That'll take you to our special link on Sugoi Mart. That is getalifepodcast.com/SUGOI. And use our code GALP. That is GALP for 15% off on everything on Sugoi Mart. And you can use the code multiple times if you really love Sugoi Mart and you're like, hell yeah, I'm going to go and purchase the best things that Japan has to offer. Food and drink, beauty items, collectibles, toys and games. You can actually buy Gunpla from Sugoi Mart as well as a lot of things for your home. kitchen appliances, bathroom, bedroom stuff. They've got these really lovely Spy Family campus notebooks. I'm a big fan of stationery, as you guys know, and they've got that there as well. There's some really cool stuff on here. You can also purchase experience sets, which is basically like kits to make matcha, to make onigiri, and they'll provide everything basically. Whatever you want, Sugoi Mart has got it. They've got a lot of really cool stuff from Japan, and as you guys know, every sort of month or so they give us care package that we show off to you guys, which I think is pretty cool. So they've got really nice stuff included. They also sell Pokemon cards and a lot of genuinely hyped stuff. What we want to do is that we want to find out the weirdest things on the Sugoi Mart website and get Sugoi Mart to send them to us. So Sugoi Mart, if you're listening, let's prepare that. Let's just get the weirdest stuff and send it my way. And we'll talk about it on a episode of Umai. They've got some really, really nice stuff. If you want to get items from Japan quite easily, some really nice quirky items, then you can go to sugoimart.com, use the code GALP for 15% off on your purchase. They've got some really nice stuff, whether you're an anime fan, whether you're a fan of Japanese culture, or even if you're a fan of Disney. They've got a lot of Disney items on there. So experience Japan from the comfort of your own home with Sugoi Mart. Use the code GALP for 15% off. Thank you, Sugoi Mart, for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. And back on to the episode. We are back with
Daddy,
Jacob.
Daddy, me?
Yes, Jacob is Daddy. We know that. That's confirmed. So we're here to talk about Dynasty Warriors 10. I give some little bit of speculation on what we're going to see, what we want to see. Jacob, I wanted to know, do you want to see the game take place from the Yellow Turbans all the way to the end? Or do you want the game to start off at a really different point? Because I kind of feel that I'm getting sick of the Yellow Turbans and I'm getting sick of playing the same missions again and again.
Here's the thing, and I think it's like associated with my views, my controversial views from earlier, but I think it really depends on the characters that we play with.
Okay.
I would love to see the typical character episode thing as like in the game, not via DLC.
Okay.
I just want to be like, hey, like if we see like Chenji, she doesn't have to be in the Yellow Turbans, obviously. Put her in Guandu and stuff. Personally, I don't mind seeing the whole Yellow Turbans, Hulao Gate stuff. I don't mind that at all because I think by now it's like a classic thing, and I don't see why we shouldn't have it. But I do see why certain characters should not have it, because like if you remember in Dynasty Warriors 2, like I remember being a little kid playing that game and being like, every single like Shu, Wu, and Wei character was alive at the time. It felt like they all were like alive and dead at the same time, you know?
It was interesting because even until Dynasty Warriors 4, you could still play as Sun Jian and play like from the beginning until the very end.
Exactly.
Which is very interesting. And even then, that's a good point, because in Dynasty Warriors 2 and 3, when you play the Battle of Wuzhang Plains, right? Cao Cao was there. Cao Cao died way before that. Liu Bei and Cao Cao were there. It was a battle between Zhuge Liang and Sima Yi. So it was just like, what the hell's going on here? But yeah, no, 100% I kind of agree with you, like sticking to like character stories and stuff like that. But what else I'd like to see, we mentioned not having like cloned movesets, so we want everyone to have unique weapons, right? But do you want them to be more realistic, or to kind of like, there are certain weapons that I think are a bit weird. Like, for example, Guan Suo. Was it Guan Suo or Ling Tong? No, it might have been Guan Suo. At one point, he had like a... No, it wasn't Guan Suo. It was one character. I think it was Liu Shan or Guan Suo. Their weapon was literally a table.
Yeah, I remember that. No, listen. Here's the thing. If you're gonna put a weapon into a game, make it an actual weapon.
Yeah.
Don't give me a fucking... Or like, you know, Meng Huo in Dynasty Warriors 6.
The tree.
Empires with a fucking tree. Girl, what the fuck? No. Give him an actual weapon. And if you give him the fucking gauntlets, they made more sense to me than a fucking tree. I'm sorry.
100%. And there's certain weapons that I think are kind of like underrated. And this is another thing I didn't like about 9 was Shang Fei's wife. I don't know if you remember her weapon.
Oh, was it?
She had the same weapon. She was a cloned moveset of Jing Sai with the sword and the shield. But her shield had a bunny rabbit on it. It was kind of fucked up.
That is strange.
at the same time, a lot of people playing the game wouldn't have gotten the reference anyway. Yeah, so what else do you want to see from Dynasty Warriors 10? Like, what other additional game modes would you like to see? Like, personally for me, I know this isn't going to happen, but if we had like empires built in, I would love that. We're not going to see it, but I would like to see something like that.
Maybe something like Samurai Warriors 4.
Okay. Well, like what? Like the castle mode?
No, that was Empires.
No, it wasn't empires.
The castle mode? What? Castle mode?
Yeah, it was like you went through this castle in it was like an unlimited stage. It was like 100 levels of a castle.
No, that was 4, what was it called?
4-2.
Yeah, I'm not talking about, I mean like the thing where it's like, oh, you travel across the thingy, across the country and
the thing missions. With yeah. Was
you know what I want to see back? The mercenary mode from Dynasty Warriors 5 Extreme Legends.
Yes,
I fucking missed that. Where it was like, oh, you create your own character, and then you have like, you like have them like join like a Wei Wurshu or like Jin. I would love that. I miss that. I do want to see character creation.
100%. I think character creation would be good, especially now if you're using something like the Wolong character creator. Oh my god, I forgot to mention this. Jacob, do you think they're gonna make a new character creator or they're gonna use like maybe they'd borrow something from Wolong? Because dude, I would love to see Dynasty Warriors running on something like the Wolong engine.
Like in terms of gameplay, or just like for character
creation?
I
mean for character creation, and not necessarily for gameplay, because I don't think that would work, but like for character creation and like settings, because like if you look at Wolong, the game looks so beautiful, right? The particle effects, and it's still China, right? And there's still battlefields in Wolong and stuff like that. So I want to see that level of like beauty in the game, like the graphics to be that good. Because bear in mind, this is going to be the first Dynasty Warriors game to be released on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and stuff. So
yeah,
I want to see that level of detail, like Wolong levels of detail. That's going to be very difficult to manage, that Wolong level of detail, as well as number of characters because on screen, like enemies and stuff, because it's going to be running on PS5 and PC and all that kind of stuff. So in theory, you could have it so that you can put more enemies on the screen. Like, I would love that.
Yeah.
Just to include more enemies and stuff like that. But at the same time, I still want to have a good graphical performance as well.
Yeah.
And I want to see the game run at 60 FPS because I don't think that's
Me
ever
too.
happened.
Me too. That's something that I missed, and I know that Koei can pull it off. Also, if I'm a bit low volume, it's because I was leaning back into my chair.
Oh, that's right.
But yes, I miss 60 FPS.
We can easily get it. I don't know why we don't get it. Like, okay, they lock it at 30. I think we're at a point in Dynasty Warriors where we could get 60 because Wolong is running at 60.
Literally, how did we have Dynasty Warriors 2 and 3 and 4 and 5? Always, and even 6. I mean, 6 did have some frame rate drops at some point, but we always had like 3 to 5. We always had 60 FPS. So like, that was something where I was like, I know Koei can do it. Like,
they can because they've done it before. So.
And here's the thing, I think they have like, I know at some point like during the development, I think they probably have like certain graphics that they know they have, but we don't know they have, like certain ways of like having like certain graphics involved, and they're like, oh, we want to have it like in the game, but like it has like it's kind of giving me like performance mode versus graphics mode, but like I don't care for graphics mode if it means that I'm gonna have to get rid of performance, you know? Yeah. I don't care for that. Personally, I don't care about it, but if you're gonna have like Wolong, of course, and 60 FPS, give us that. Please give us that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think 60 FPS will be incredibly manageable for Dynasty Warriors because, you know, if Wolong can do it and Wolong has all these different graphical things, and clearly there's a lot more money that's invested in a game like Wolong than there is in Dynasty Warriors. No doubt about it. But if they can do a game at 60 FPS with less enemies, I think easily. Dynasty Warriors doesn't need to be that graphically amazing as Wolong. But if you could take that graphical stability and just put it into like performance and be like, hey, this game runs at 60 FPS at like 120 hertz. Fuck it. I would buy the shit out of the game, you know?
Yes.
Like, just for that, in terms of Musos, do you want to see a more Dynasty Warriors 5 style Muso or the Dynasty Warriors 8 style where you press one button and then that's it? Because obviously 8 and 9 had a best of both worlds where certain attacks were like, for example, if you're doing your Way of the Muso or your Muso Rage attack, basically you can move around while doing it. I thought that was a nice mix, but I would still like the option of like back in the day when you'd hold circle to charge up your Muso and things like that. I would like to see that return.
Here's the thing, because like I don't mind either. Let me just say that, because I like both options. But I do think I might just prefer the one where it's like you hold circle, because it gives me a much bigger feeling of, well, it's special, because literally it like if you have like the, oh, you press circle and then it's just like one strong attack, it just kind of makes me feel like it's enhanced version of the single triangle move. Not in a way where it's like, oh, it looks like that, but it's like we know triangle, like we have normal attacks, we have stronger attacks, and we have Muso attacks. But like the first triangle attack, we know that it's like it's like a strong attack, of course. But like if you have like a Musa attack, it just like why do I have to see a fixed animation like that? Especially because I also know that if you have like you keep pressing circle, at some point maybe you're like, okay, well, I just beat these enemies. Why would I have to finish emptying my gauge now if I can just reload it and like use it sooner or later on? You know what I mean? It's like if you know there's literally no use for the attack anymore.
Yeah.
Why empty your gauge?
True.
It's like the same with like horses. Like, you know, you can use your Muso on the horses, and like it makes them faster, it makes you faster and stuff. But like I remember in Dynasty Warriors 7, you used it and then like the horse just fucking dashed, and it was fun, but it was not fun when you used it and at some point the horse just ran into a fucking wall and you couldn't get away from it. So like if you can like control how long the circle takes, personally, I think I would prefer that.
You know what? I miss the old school Musos on the horse. Like, you know, the actual proper attacks on the horse. Like, I find horses after Dynasty Warriors 7, or even during Dynasty Warriors 7, horses just became so fucking annoying. Like, I'm not a big fan of the redesign of Red Hair. They've made Red Hair look like a fucking monster. It scares the shit out of me. You know what I mean? Because it's so huge.
I kind of love it, I'm not gonna lie.
Like, dude, I like the design, but it's just a huge ass horse. And I'm sorry, I don't like it.
There's something I do agree with. It's the fact that, like, I feel like some of the horses are just too big, as in, like, in height.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I literally
dumb.
cannot get this fucking enemy off of this horse, no matter what I do, unless I use like a bow user or something. But, like, it's so annoying. Like, let me get the enemy off of this damn horse.
I think as well, like, after playing a game like Samurai Warriors, where, you know, you had horses, but like you really don't need a horse for Samurai Warriors. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would, and same with Orochi, right? You can have a horse in Orochi, but you don't really need the horse is useless.
In Orochi, I feel it. I mean, in Samurai Warriors, I guess it depends on the battlefield. I feel like, because I do use horses a lot in Samurai Warriors.
I don't.
Like,
I just hyper attack everything, because the hyper attack in some cases you can be faster, and like even in Dynasty Warriors 8, like you were faster.
Yeah, but I
than
don't always want to use the hyper attack. I'm gonna be honest. I don't always. I prefer like riding somewhere and then like attacking the enemy. But I agree that in Warriors Orochi, I don't think I ever really used horses, just because I'm like I don't know about you, but in Warriors Orochi, I love looking at the variety of like soldiers and characters that are on this battlefield. So I'm like, I love seeing the fact that I'm like using fucking some Atelier character, and right next to me there's I don't know, Kasumi. I love like seeing like the variety in characters on the battlefield, and that's why I'm like, in general, I just use like the normal characters like running around. I don't use horses just because I want to see what is happening on the battlefield.
I mean, in Orochi as well, depending on which character you're using, they could be faster than Red Hair. Like Ryu Hayabusa was definitely faster than Red Hair.
Exactly that too. Sun Wukong, literally the fastest character, no matter what you do, faster than horses. I love.
And it's insane. And the thing is, I like horses, but I want them to be more useful. I don't know. Like I was playing Sengoku Basara, right, where the horses, at least in the earlier games, like the horses wouldn't last forever. You know what I mean? The horses could take damage. They could die in battle.
Yeah, I remember.
Like
that.
I'm not asking for the horses to die in battle, but it would be very interesting if the horses had their own like weaknesses. You know, because it's like, okay, I'm using red hair, he's super fast. Like, if I have red hair, there's no real reason to use Hexmark or Stormrunner.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're like looking for authenticity with like the characters.
Exactly, and it's like, why would I want that? I want to go through the stages, and the problem with Dynasty Warriors 8 was the stages were so big that you needed the horse. And to be honest with you, I kind of hate horses because of Dynasty Warriors 9. Like, you needed the horse to go everywhere in Dynasty Warriors 9.
Yeah.
And I think with Dynasty Warriors 10, if they made the horse useful, remove the horse Muso and just made it an old school Muso that we saw in Dynasty Warriors 5, that would be fantastic. I also think that keeping it as one character, one weapon, that would be great. If they do want us to experience multiple weapons, I think they should do that within multiple characters, like a weapon swap, like a character swap. I think that would make more sense and allow you to do a lot more things, because I know back in the day when you're doing split screen, even in Dynasty Warriors 8, like there were certain things that were a lot easier to do in split screen because, you know, you needed to be at 2 places at once, and you know, you can't really do that.
Exactly.
I would like to see things like that. I would like to see objectives, kind of like what we saw in Samurai Warriors, you know, when you get the horn.
Oh, I missed that. I missed that so much because I remember, I think at some point they got rid of that. And did they ever have that in Dynasty Warriors 2?
They didn't have it in Dynasty Warriors 2, but they had it in 7 and 8.
I mean, in Dynasty Warriors in general, I'm sorry. I'm like,
Yeah.
I was thinking of Dynasty Warriors 2 because I remember, like, it would always be like, oh, do this. And it would give you that sound, like that traumatic sound as if something really awful just happened. And it's like,
So-
I would love missions are amazing. That is such a weird statement.
No, it's true though, because they had something like that in Dynasty Warriors 4, where basically you had to defeat a particular person in an allotted time, and if you didn't do that, you wouldn't lose the battle, you just lose morale.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, I think they kind of built on that in Dynasty Warriors 7 and 8, where it was like, oh, if you didn't do this, then, or if you did something unusual within the battle, you'd unlock special stories and stuff like that, like what if missions. That brings me on to a good thing. Do you want to see what if return?
That was in Dynasty Warriors 7 or 8, right?
8.
It wasn't 8.
Mainly in 8, yeah.
See, I think if we're gonna talk about like a DLC, we can have what ifs as DLC.
Okay.
I am indifferent. I don't need it. I think it's a fun addition, but I think we can also make, like, if we are going to give all the characters their own stories, I feel like a lot of the stages could be what ifs. Like Dynasty Warriors 5 had a lot of what if stages. Why make those like a separate thing? I mean, of course, if you're gonna say like, oh well, if we have free mode is like more like common, but like if you have like what if scenarios, then we can have like certain missions or something, blah blah blah. I don't really need like specific, like I don't need it labeled as like what if scenarios, because I'm like, if you're gonna put them in the game, just put them in the game. I don't care.
I think though there's something interesting about unlocking those what if scenarios yourself and doing those objectives.
Oh, definitely. I think it's pretty cool if you have like one character that is supposed to die, but they just keep on going or something.
Well, Dynasty Warriors 8 had a great example where if you saved Guo Jia, then you'd have him at Cherbi, and then you'd see how he would change the battle, because there's a lot of references even in the original book, Romance of Three Kingdoms, where Cao Cao mentions, what would I do if Guo Jia was here? Like, he reminisces, because apparently Guo Jia was like a better strategist than Sima Yi, than Zhuge Liang, and stuff like that. So it was interesting to see that in action, and obviously Guo Jia didn't get many missions in base game anyway, and most of his story did come up from what ifs. So, yeah, like, I would like to see what if scenarios occur, but I would like to see that after you complete the base game.
Oh, yeah,
Because
basically.
What I
Yeah,
didn't
literally.
like about 8 was how you could basically go off and branch off into what ifs and continue that side of the story without completing the main game. Like, I think for what ifs to make sense, you need to complete the whole game. And then it feels like an extra bonus. Like, that I'd like to see. I'd like to see not the ambition mode. So the ambition mode was the thing that you mentioned before when you build up that city. I would like to see conquest mode return. So it's basically in Dynasty Warriors 7 where you had those little tiles.
But I think that was like okay for me. It was like at some point, if you finish the map, it's just like, what do I do now?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. And it did also rely on like DLC and stuff. And it was interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
It was interesting though, because the DLC that you got for that were classic stages. So they weren't like bullshit
I remember
DLCs
that.
and stuff. You know, like how, like for example, there was one DLC in Samurai Warriors 5 that pissed me the fuck off. It had nothing to do with history. All it was they were fighting for an onsen. I was like, this is stupid. Like this.
I love that though. It's like I love like the most trivial shit for some reason. Like do you remember, I don't know, you've played Samurai Warriors too, right? Have you played like all of the dream battles? So there was, like in Samurai Warriors 2, like all of them had like their own battle stories, except for Okuni and I think Ranmaru. Those two didn't have storylines, but all the others did, and everybody had like their dream stage. And it was like, I don't know if it was like in terms of like, oh, they're dreaming, oh, this is like something they've always dreamed of doing. I don't get it. But I remember Nohime had a beauty contest, and she like, it was literally like you're playing as Nohime and you have to beat up like all the other female characters appearing in that battle. It was so funny to me. I love that shit so much, and it's like it makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. But it's just so, it's kind of funny, but at the same time, it's like, for some reason, I can see this happening for Nohime. But it also reminds me of in Dynasty Warriors 5 Extreme Legends. Do you know, that one battle where it's like the battle of the pairs? I fucking love that battle. That was my favorite battle from like the whole mode that they had for that. It was so stupid. It was so fucking funny. Where it was like cowering again behind your cowardly tactician or something. Will he hide behind your skirt again, pretending to strategize? Genji knew what she did. That was good shit. I would love to see something like that coming back.
Look, I'm not a fan of those kind of stages. Don't get me wrong. Like, I would prefer to get like more like a historical take on certain things. Like, for example, like an alternate stage design. Like, let's say you've played Dynasty Warriors 10's version of Hulao Gate, right? I would like to see, like, if you did a certain thing within that mission. Let's say you defeated Lubu, right?
Yeah.
On hard difficulty, for example. Or defeated Lubu with a certain character or whatever, then you unlock a stage variant like that. I would like to see that, where you know how we see like variant costumes, like costumes from Dynasty Warriors 2, 3, 4, and 5. I would like it so that you could actually go back and be like, hey, I unlocked the Dynasty Warriors 2 version of Hulao Gate or of the Yellow Turban Rebellion. The reason why I'm saying that is because Koei did remake a lot of these assets in HD for Dynasty Warriors 7.
Yeah.
So it is plausible. They could go back and it's not like they're going to remake them again. Like, they already have those map layouts, and I would like to see that. And that's something from me, because I have a feeling we're not going to get an HD remake or remaster or whatever at this point. I've given up on that. I would still like to see some level of like reference or like ability to kind of play through those older missions in a new way. It's a lot of content, mind you, if you're going to be doing that for the major battles, Chorbi, Hulao Gate, Yellow Turbans, that kind of stuff. But I think I would like to see that. I'd like to see challenge mode as well, because that was always a fun thing.
That was the one where you have like the rank list and stuff, like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like, I know they kind of brought that back with Orochi. Like, Orochi 4 has it now. And it wasn't always just like how many enemies you can defeat. Like, it was like, there was some that were really skill based, like destroying pots or boxes or knocking enemies off a stage without yourself getting knocked off.
I remember that. That was so funny.
It was great. And I think like you also had like 2-player duels as well, like to actually duel someone.
Yeah.
I would like to see that, but include online multiplayer where, you know, me and you, if we wanted to settle something, we'd be like, hey, me and you, Dynasty Warriors right now, let's fuck shit up.
That brings me to something. Would you like to see those duels back from Dynasty Warriors 4?
Like in the main game?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Like, definitely. I would like to see that. But I would like it to be slightly different, because those duels in a way kind of felt like, hey, you can easily defeat, like it was easier to defeat Lubu in a duel than it was to defeat him on the battlefield.
That I disagree with.
No, I felt it was
I actually
easier.
disagree with that, because he was super fucking strong in a duel.
I disagree. I think it's easier in the duel because you have more opportunity, because you're locked up. Effectively, what you could do, and this is something anyone can do in Dynasty Warriors 4, get yourself into a corner and start like deflecting their attacks, like do the parry attack. You've won the duel. Like, that's how I see it, right? So, and I've done that. It worked, especially with Lubu. So I would like to see the duel, but I would like it to actually have a level of meaning. Like, if I do a duel with Lubu and I win it, you know, I would like to get a special cutscene. Maybe I can unlock red hair that way. You know, I want there to be like a specific challenge associated with the jewel, or like if I've lost the jewel, then I don't know. Like I think there needs to be like a level of difficulty, like to be penalized if you fail, and to like, because obviously you get a game over. But what I think which might piss a lot of people off, but I think this would be quite nice, is that if you fail a jewel, you start the stage from the beginning, and if you've saved right before the jewel, you lose the save data. That would fucking it would piss people off. Don't get me wrong, but I think
it would piss me off.
I think there needs to be that level of challenge in Dynasty Warriors in the future, because okay, I can play Dynasty Warriors. Oh, this is another thing. I don't want to see character levels in this game. I don't want to see it because they're meaningless. Like once you get to level 100, you're crazy. But it's like, I could be Duck Yao or I could be Lu Bu, right? And those, if you both get them to level 100, they're the same. I want to see that level of difficulty, right? Because back in the day, you never used to level up your characters. What you did was level up your weapons. Those weapons would still have like a level cap on them. So it wasn't like beating Lu Bu would be any different. You know, even if you maxed out your weapons, beating Lu Bu would still be difficult. So that's what I would like to see. I would like to see weapon leveling as opposed to character leveling, because character leveling doesn't mean much to me. Don't get me wrong, I would like to see, you know, Muso bars. There is such a thing as character leveling internally, right? Like in Dynasty Warriors 4, Dynasty Warriors 5, there was a character leveling, because as you progress through the game, you'd notice that your Muso bar would increase, your health bar would increase, but that just came from XP that you got in the game. It wasn't like the stupid system that we've seen like since, was it 7 that introduced it, or 8 or something, or even Orochi 3? Any Orochi games actually, where you could basically pay to level up your characters, and it made
yeah, I remember that.
I hated that shit, because it was like there was no real need to play as your characters, and then like Orochi 4 included this like prestige system.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you though. In the game I actually did end up I think it was XP points anyways, but like I spent like most of them on like Genji, like all of my mains, like Genji, Nohime, and I don't know who else. I don't know, Kasumi maybe, or like whoever. I would only play as them, and it was so funny because like I would look at my characters and they would all be like level 100, and then I look at everybody else and they're like level 1, level 2.
And that's the thing that pissed me off, because it kind of takes away the incentive to play as other characters. Right?
Yeah.
Because why should I play as them when my mains are like level 100? Like I remember back in the day, you'd play as other characters, even in Orochi, right? Or in Dynasty Warriors, when you play as other characters, because you'd know that that character would be perfect for that stage because of their speed or because of their attack. Like I remember I would play Hulao Gate as Dian Wei, right? Because I know that 100% confident that I could actually go and defeat Lu Bu with Dian Wei or with Guan Yu, right? But I know I wouldn't be able to do that with a character like Zhou Yu or Liu Shun, right? So your strategies change, right? So instead of going full force and attacking Lu Bu, you might avoid Lu Bu, right? Or you might retreat, or you might change your strategy up because your character is not beefed up. Certain characters are, but then there's certain things that are based around the characters, and it kind of adds to the personalities of the characters a little bit, because you know, a character like Su Shu, right? He's a big character, he does a lot of damage, but he's incredibly slow. So, but in a game like Orochi, or even in a game like Dynasty Warriors 8, where you could just max out stats, it's irrelevant. And I kind of want to see a proper leveling system that isn't reliant on XP and just like doing that whole bullshit where you just like level them up. If there was a character leveling system, I would rather want it to be similar to Dynasty Warriors 2 or even Dynasty Warriors 5, where you get XP only by playing as that character in a particular battle, and that was it, right? I don't want to go into menus and like level up my characters in the camp. No, I don't want any of that. And that brings me on to another thing. The amount of menus that Dynasty Warriors 8 had, and even Dynasty Warriors 9, was just so stupid. I just want them to simplify everything. And if they want to, make the game just a lot easier, like in the sense that Dynasty Warriors 9 was weird because they had these R1 attacks, similar to Samurai Warriors, but Samurai Warriors did it in a better way. But these R1 attacks basically like replaced certain Musos, they replaced certain charge attacks, and I thought, why? Like, you have all the buttons there in terms of square, triangle, X, circle, you had all the buttons there. Why did you have to reassign certain moves to R1 and square or R1 and triangle?
Yeah.
It seemed really weird. And I know it worked for One Piece. I know it worked for all these kind of games. But what I would like to see is that, yes, you can add more movesets, like to kind of make the game more diverse, because I know a lot of people in the past were like, hey, Dynasty Warriors is just square, square, triangle, that kind of stuff. But what I'd like to see is that not necessarily implement hyper attacks, because I don't think that would work with Dynasty Warriors, but use the idea of reversing the combos, right? So instead of doing square, square, triangle, you do triangle, triangle, square. So you basically double the amount of moves that you have with a particular weapon just by reversing the order of the attacks, right? And I think Koei are smart enough so that when you do press triangle more than once, it is like it just doesn't do a repeat of a charge attack. Like it will know that you're doing a different set of combos, right? I think that would be very intriguing. Or, Jacob, and this is where I think where Koei can learn from games like Sengoku Basara, where I think in Sengoku Basara, if you press L1, it changed your charge attacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that would be really cool. Like having a different, like maybe equipping different charge attacks before a battle, or like kind of like in a way that some arc system works, like fighting games do it, where they have like I'm thinking of Dragon Ball FighterZ, where you can assign, like instead of using a Kamehameha, you use like a Masenko if you're Gohan or something like that. Like just change it up a little bit. Like that, I think that would be a really cool idea that Koei can take from a game like Sengoku Basara, because it's like no one plays Sengoku Basara anymore. We're not getting any new games from Capcom, so I don't think that's going to be much of an issue if Koei just takes that idea and just implements it. But yeah, other than that, Jacob, if we got new characters, what new characters would you like to see?
What new characters? More female characters.
Okay.
Cool female characters.
Okay.
More femme fatales. Give me those femme fatales, because those are always the ones I go for right away. Like, not wanna be bitchy, but like, I know I'm bitchy and I own it. Like Shenji no Hime. Like that kind of character. I don't know how many of those are out there in like the Dynasty Warriors or like whatever universe. But I would like, those are the characters I usually eat up. Like I love those strong women that like, just like they walk into that battlefield and they're just like, yeah, I'm here, and what, you're gonna bring it, bitch?
And that's the thing, right? Because you mentioned how many characters are like that, but in reality there's a lot of characters like that, because it's up to Koei to create characters like that. A lot of characters even within Dynasty Warriors do not exist in history. Like if we're talking about Diao Chan, that's highly debated on whether or not she existed, or a character like Bao Zhanyang. It's up to Koei to decide.
I think we should get like more characters like Kiyomasa from Samurai Warriors.
Okay.
Also, like characters like Keiji Maeda.
Fair enough. You mean you're mainly, from what I understand, you're mainly talking about in terms of personality and character design, right? Like,
yep.
For me, I'm thinking about characters in terms of which historical figures I would like to play as. Like, I'm thinking Liao Hua, definitely, always Liao Hua. I'm thinking characters like, I can't even remember all of them, but like Mi Fang, Ma Su, probably as well. Characters that have more historical significance, possibly from like Zhuge Liang's side of things, or just in general, right? Like, that's how I see it. Like, I know I was like, oh, I don't want to see Hang Dang return. I don't want to see those characters return. But that's mainly because they don't have much of a storyline. Like, their story is basically dependent on a character like Zhou Yu, because he was Zhou Yu's bodyguard. So, like, I want to see more stuff like that. Like, even if we don't get new characters, I do want to see more character development, because I feel like over the years we've kind of lost that a little bit. But that being said, Jacob, thank you for coming on podcast today.
Of course.
And thank you guys for listening. And because this is going to be like, what, a 2-hour episode about us talking about Dynasty Warriors and all this kind of stuff. So please let us know what features you want to see in a new Dynasty Warriors game, whether it is Dynasty Warriors 10 or like an expansion for Dynasty Warriors 9, which I hope it's not, but in case that it might be. But what do you guys want to see in Dynasty Warriors 10? Let us know what features, what characters, what stages. Let us know on Twitter at Get a Life Podcast. Additionally, if you're listening on Spotify, there'll be a little Spotify poll or a Q&A that you guys can directly answer our questions that we set out to you guys as well. Big shout out to our sponsors Crunchyroll and Sugoima for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Also big thanks to Koei Tecmo for actually, making these games that we love, right? I know over the years it's easy to like complain about these games, especially if you've loved them for such a long time, but I keep on going back and playing them, and I still love the series. And Jacob, I'd imagine you still love Musou games as well, otherwise you wouldn't be on this podcast. So exactly, so big shout out to Koei Tecmo, obviously, for supporting us as a podcast and as a community for such a long time. One thing I also want to do is to shout out to Chris Gildart, lovely guy, always promotes our stuff, and you can check out his videos in the podcast link in the description. Be sure to support him because literally I think he's one of my favorite Musou content creators on YouTube, so please do support him as well. Jacob?
Yes.
Bye.
Was that it?
Bye. Yeah, that's how I'm ending it. Bye.
No, stay sexy?
No, the stay sexy is a kunai thing.
Well,
you can't say it. We're not gonna have this. We're not gonna have this argument again. No,
maybe ask me hey, do you want to say anything?
No, yeah. Well, you're gonna say stay sexy, and I can't let you.
No,
do
I'm
that.
not.
I know you would because the first thing you said was no, stay sexy.
Daddy.
That's a Trisha.
That is Trisha. Trisha Payton, the new sponsor of the podcast.
Wow,
I
thank
told
you.
Yeah. Wow, exactly. Exactly.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you guys for listening. We added an extra 20 minutes just talking about Trisha Paytas.
We did.
And you know what? I want to put her in the title. We're Dynasty Warriors 10 and Trisha Paytas. I have
Dynasty Trisha.
Dynasty Trisha Musou. There you go. We're gonna get it, boys. You know what? Look, I don't know if I should put Trisha in the title because we did dedicate. I think we've spoken more about Trisha than we did Dynasty Warriors. To be fair with you,
That is not true.
are you sure about that?
That is not true.
Are you sure about that?
Well, we definitely talked a lot about Tokido.
True. We did. Okay. And yeah, I just want to end this episode on this.
Wow, thank you.
There you go.
Exactly.
Wow. Thank you. So thank you guys for
Wow,
listening.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening, and hope you guys enjoy this episode of GALP. I think we had it's almost 3 hours long, and we spent half an hour speaking about Trisha. So, Trisha, we're gonna send that email. Do you think it's a joke, Jacob? After this episode airs, I am gonna send an email to Trisha and invite her to Umai. If she says no, she says no. If she ignores me, that's fine. But if she says in the off chance, in that 1% chance that she says yes, we're gonna go all out.
I'm so down.
Hell yeah. Anyway, bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.